When we set out to make a new recipe here at Cook's Country, we start by finding as many versions of that recipe as we can find, and we make a few in a side-by-side test. Now, when we did this with blueberry cornbread, the differences were dramatic. Some were cakey, some were savory, some had an odd bluish color, didn't they, Ashley?
They absolutely did, almost gray even. And that wasn't very appetizing. And honestly, it was just very simple what we wanted to do. We wanted to find a way to add blueberries to cornbread. The idea is simple, but as it turns out, it's not as simple to make.
So the first idea, savory or sweet?
Well, we kind of teeter-tottered in the middle there.
Okay.
We did find a really nice balance of the two, so I'll walk you through how we did it.
All right.
All right, so first we are going to start with a 9-inch greased light-colored cake pan, and I'm going to line it with 1.5 tablespoons of yellow cornmeal.
Okay. So instead of dusting the cake pan with flour as you would with cakes, notice I said cakes, and I asked you about sweet versus savory, so we're already kind of treating it like a cake. But instead of dusting the pan with flour, you're dusting it with cornmeal.
Yes.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and it's just going to help for easy release, and it's going to give you a little bit of that cornmeal crunch. I'm all about texture, so it's going to be a good one.
And I did notice she said light-colored cake pan. What happens if you use a dark-colored pan?
You have to shorten the cook time.
Oh, okay.
All right, now on to the dry ingredients. Here we have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of yellow cornmeal, and this is just the regular yellow cornmeal that you find in most grocery stores. Here we have 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and finally 3/4 teaspoon of table salt. Just gonna whisk that until combined.
Now you said 1.5 cups of flour to 1 cup of cornmeal. Now obviously we must have tried different ratios. That's more flour than cornmeal. Sounding a little cakey.
Well, again, teeter-tottering. We're walking that fine line, trying to keep you in suspense, and I think it's working. All right, so we'll move on down to our wet ingredients. Here we have 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I've gone ahead and melted and then cooled it down, which ensures that it's not going to cook or scramble the eggs that are in this recipe.
I've done that before.
This is 1 cup of whole milk and 2 large eggs.
So not buttermilk, yet a different cornbread. A lot of cornbreads are made with buttermilk because that tang's good, unless you're going for something a little on the sweet side.
You're on to me, ma'am. All right, and as you can see, I'm just whisking this until combined. And because of the temperature of the butter and temperature of the cold milk, sometimes it does tend to clump, and that's totally okay. That's just because of the temperature of everything combining.
Those clumps would melt in the oven.
All right, let's combine everything together here.
Here's the dry.
Thank you. So here we have the dry ingredients, and I'm going to add the wet. Then I'm just going to whisk the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients until just combined. And that's important because you don't want to form any extra gluten at this stage.
Extra gluten means extra chewy cornbread.
All right, this looks great. Just want to reincorporate it just with my rubber spat here. All right. Now time to add the blueberries.
The star of the show.
The star of the show. 10 ounces, 2 cups of these beautiful blueberries.
Those are gorgeous.
And just like earlier, I'm going to fold this just until combined. All right, now I will transfer this batter to the prepared pan and get every little drop in there. So now, just gently using my rubber spatula, I'm just going to ever so lightly try and flatten out the top of my cornbread here.
That's a lot of blueberries.
I guarantee 1 blueberry, at least 1 blueberry in every bite. Almost done. Here we have 1 tablespoon more of sugar. Just gonna dust it on the top before going into the oven.
How cakey of you.
I've been called worse, and you wanna make sure all the cornbread gets covered. So go slow at this stage if you'd like. So I've sprinkled that lovely sugar on top of the cornbread, and I have an oven that is preheated to 375 degrees. I'm gonna bake this until nice and golden brown on the top, and a paring knife inserted in the center comes out clean. It should be about 40 to 45 minutes.
Smells good.
Oh yeah, I am so excited for this. Thank you. So I just want to test for doneness. Again, I'm going to insert this paring knife. I'm looking for no crumbs attached onto the sides of it.
There's no crumbs, but it's not exactly clean. Looks like you stabbed a berry.
It does. All right, so I'm going to let this cool in the cake pan for 20 minutes.
All right.
And in the meantime, Got a little trick up my sleeve, and it's called honey butter.
Mmm.
So I have 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter that is softened. And here I have 2 tablespoons of honey. And I love using these little spatulas for sticky stuff like this, or for things that are just in a little tiny bowl, because it helps ensure that everything gets out nice and cleanly. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And finally, a pinch of some cayenne pepper.
Oh, I like that. A little cayenne, a little honey. You know, making a flavored butter or compound butter is so easy, and it just elevates whatever you're cooking. Just kicks everything up just a little notch.
100% behind you there. And people think you really went the extra mile.
It's true.
Meanwhile, it took 2 seconds to put this together. So as you can see, I've been mashing it with a fork. Came together really, really easily. So again, we are going to wait 20 minutes for this to cool in the cake pan.
All right.
All right, it's been 20 minutes. The next step is to run the paring knife between the cornbread and the cake pan.
Loosening it up a bit.
All right, and now I'm just gonna put the dish towel here just to hold it. Put my hand right on top of the bread. Drum roll. There we go. We are in business.
Nicely done.
Thank you so much. So this is still quite warm. It needs about 20 more minutes to cool. All right, it has been 40 long minutes, Julia. It's time to slice into
All right,
this.
I've been waiting for this.
All right, so I'm gonna slice it into 8 slices. Using the serrated knife, I'm gonna cut it down the middle from top to bottom and from side to side. Then crossways. This just helps to ensure even sizes.
These are nice big pieces of cornbread.
Oh yeah.
You're not skimping.
No skimping in my kitchen.
Ooh, and then the honey butter.
Yes.
I think I'm just gonna put a little on the top.
Yeah.
I'm going in.
All right. Not too sweet.
It really isn't that sweet. I know I've been giving you a hard time about the cakiness, because I'm not a big fan of sweet cornbread. It really is right on the line between cake and cornbread. It's not dense cornbread, it's not cake, and it's not mushy. It really is baked all the way through, but light.
Nice and tender. That melted butter is really coming through.
Yeah.
And we paid attention to how much we were mixing this, or not mixing this, because we didn't want to develop that gluten, which is going to make this tough. And it's a cornbread after all. It's not a cake, and it's not a hearty bread.
And the sugar actually brings out the corn flavor a little bit, especially given that we're using supermarket cornmeal. It's hard to get a light texture like that when you're making a melted butter or a bowl cake, because the tendency is to overmix it, and that makes it bready. But this is lovely and light. I also love the little crunchy bits of cornmeal that are all around the pan. It's like a little crunchy present with every bite. I love that. This is delicious, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To make this amazing blueberry cornbread, start by dusting a 9-inch round cake pan with cornmeal. Using a 3-to-2 ratio of all-purpose flour to cornmeal, along with some whole milk and melted butter, mix the batter together by hand before gently stirring in the fresh blueberries. Dust the top with a little sugar, bake for 45 minutes, and let cool slightly before serving with honey butter. From Cook's Country, a great recipe for blueberry cornbread with honey butter. I'm kind of getting rid of the fork, I'm just going.
Oh, that's good. Officially takes it out of cake territory.
That's what I was thinking.
Thanks for watching Cook's Country from America's Test Kitchen. So what'd you think?
Leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or just say hi.
Now you can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
Alligator.